Hello and welcome. My name is Errity Green, and today I am bringing you a reading on what is meant for you. So we are talking destiny, we are talking fate, we are talking about what God, higher power, source, spirit, universe has intended for you. So this will be a fun reading, as always deep, always thorough, always meaningful. If you find you enjoy this reading or like this reading, do like, subscribe, press the bell icon. That way you receive notifications. It really helps out the channel. I do think we stand apart from a lot of the other readers out there in terms of depth and realness, and all of us are unique. Of course, I have many a favorite YouTube reader out there, but if you like this channel, do like, subscribe. It does support the channel. And then check out my website below and see what I have going on. So without further delay, I will place a picture up of your four card piles to choose from today. As always, you are choosing from left to right. Okay, so card pile 1, what is meant for you? So right off the bat, I have this feeling of leaning back a little bit more, taking your hands off the wheel, like letting things be a little bit more. So perhaps you have an inclination or a tendency to hold on tight or try to control it or make sure something happens or force something to happen. And there's this reminder and reassurance here for you, card pile 1, that what is meant for you, which I know we're saying what is meant for you, right? And then it's saying, just relax and we're going to take care of it. And it's like, well, thanks, but what are you taking care of? Because he didn't really say. And we don't know just yet, but we will get there. Because basically, I think the overall message is you're going to get what you want. What you want is what's coming to you. So you might be a group who has always kind of known what you're meant for. You know, you've always perhaps known you're going to be successful. You're going to end up somewhere, end up something, or that's something in particular, even if you just have an inkling about it. Like you might have always sort of dreamt for this particular dream or vision or aspiration or ambition or goal or whatever for your life. And it's more or less saying that is going to happen. It is meant for you. So it's just a matter of trusting that and letting yourself lean back a little bit more, letting yourself enjoy a little bit more. Just feels like leaning back, letting go, settling in, and like letting life happen a little bit more. And it feels like there is an enjoyment factor here, that you're going to enjoy it more when you sit back, relax, enjoy the show, versus trying to direct it, force it, manipulate it, micromanage it. So the example that's coming to me is when you are a viewer or an audience of a film or a TV show or whatever, for example, right? You can watch that and be purely entertained. You can sit back, enjoy the show, and you get to enjoy it for what it is. That's a very different perspective than, say, the director or the producer. And the director has to decide where the camera goes, right? And it's going to be over here now and over here later, and this is the way this is going to be said. It's very technical, and there's almost like a science or craft to it. It's a way of seeing things and how things should be, and you know, looking at this person's face and looking at this person's face, or starting in the plate and then zooming out. It's a lot more technical and it's a lot more managed. And it's like, you might have been in the director or producer or whatever role in your life for a long period of time. And this is assuring you that you can let go a little bit, lean back a little bit, and let yourself be more of the viewer, more of the experiencer, and just trusting that whatever is meant for you is to come to you. And again, I understand the irony, because I'm saying, well, what is meant for you? And we're asking that question. It's just saying, well, sit back and wait and see. Haha. So there might be more here, but I actually think for you, it's going to leave with more so just the assurance that you will get what's coming to you. You will get what you had your eye on. You will get what you've set your sights on. You will get the thing that you've been working for, moving toward, pushing for, whatever that is. So it's saying, instead of working so hard or not allowing yourself to enjoy the process or whatever, you might as well sit back, relax, and enjoy it, versus, again, going in there and seeing it from a totally different perspective. I mean, a director, as an example, making a film is doing a job, you know, and yes, they might be passionate about it. It might be their, their baby, their brainchild, and so there's something very special to that. And yet it's still a job. It requires effort. It requires work. Now, it's not saying to not do any work or not do anything at all, or just say forget about it and give up and throw your hands up. But it is saying this can be more enjoyable. You can have more fun. You can relax a little bit more. You can ease off the gas a little bit. It's just saying, trusting what is yours, trusting what's coming to you enough or well enough to be able to enjoy the process, to enjoy the way there, to enjoy the climb or the journey. Yeah, it's like letting this be a little bit more innocent. So as a child, right, we're not necessarily, most of the time, we're not driven toward a particular outcome or driven toward a particular goal. We're not saying, oh, I'm going to go do blank so I can get blank, right? We're not saying, I'm going to go learn to fight so that I can win first trophy. I mean, that might be instilled or conditioned by a parent or by the sensei or something like that. But very rarely is the kid like, I'm going to go learn that so I can be number one. That's conditioning. Initially, the child is much more like, I want to learn how to fight, or I want to learn how to dance, or I want to learn how to do flips, or I want to run around outside, just explore, right? It's very open. It's free play, it's exploring what inspires you or what makes you curious. It's much more innocent. Again, not moving toward a particular outcome or mission driven or focused on a particular outcome or goal. It's simply just being and just living and responding to and in the moment, and being a little bit more playful, certainly, with life, but just holding things loosely, letting life be fun, and allowing yourself to enjoy it a little bit more. And again, remembering how it was to be a child, if you can remember that, even if they were just glimpses, how it was to be a child and that level of innocence of just chasing butterflies, right? Or putting your feet in the creek. It wasn't about like, oh, if I do this, I'm going to get that. And if I do that, I'm going to get this. And if I do this, I'm going to get that. And then everything's going to work out, right? You see how there's a very big difference between those approaches, just like the director versus the viewer. So it is saying, this is a life's work, right? Whatever it is you're working toward, this vision, this aspiration, this dream, this is your life's work. And it doesn't mean it's going to take a whole lifetime to get there or to produce this, whatever this is, but it does mean sort of all of the accomplishments or successes or the dream that you have, whatever it is that you're seeking or maybe have been working on or focused on or whatever for a time, that over the course of your life, you'll experience all of those things. It doesn't mean it's going to be in one big, one fell swoop, just land in your lap, there you go, here's the spectacle, hurrah. It's not going to be like that. It's more like a little bit here and a little bit there. There might be a big thing, but it's saying, it's not like you're going to work from 0 to 60 and get something at 60. It's going to be like you're going to work and you're going to see something at 23 and then at 36 and then at 45 and then at 54, right? And it's like, so, and those are long spans of time, and there are so many more in between, but that's an example where this is a life's work. And Rome wasn't built in a day, right? Things don't happen overnight. It's brick by brick by brick, and there will be celebrations and cause for celebration and successes and accomplishments along the way. But it's almost like if you were trying to build Rome in a day, you'd be very disappointed every single day up until Rome was built. And that's a harrowing existence, to live every day in hopes it's going to be done and it's just not, and it takes like 300 years. Like, wait a second. So, not waiting or holding on so tight or so hard to this thing, instead just enjoying your life and letting your life be and letting it all happen and flow toward a particular outcome instead of feeling like you have to make it happen. There's a level of innocence here, playfulness, joy, feeling like a child, a playful spirit. So let's see what else is here. There's another message, and I'm going to take a moment to get it for you. Okay, so I feel like it's calling for some inner work or some shadow work or some reflection or introspection where you're asking yourself, what is it that's pushing you or driving you to go strive, achieve it? And that those are all okay impulses. Like, I don't want you to feel like, oh, that's something that's wrong or bad or something to be ashamed about or something to stop or fix. It's more of like recognizing where that drive comes from, that drive to get it all done quickly, get it done overnight, make sure what Rome is built in a day, make it happen. Because I feel like it's important for you to understand what the actual impulse or reason is. So here's some examples. Like some of you might simply just be bored, right? You might find yourself that you get bored, and so you busy yourself with like, okay, well, I'll just keep myself busy and keep my eye on the prize, and that'll keep things interesting. That'll keep things exciting. So are you looking for thrills, and how might you bring more thrill to your life in other ways, as an example? Instead of being so attached or holding on so tightly to this vision or dream that it's saying you can lean back and relax and enjoy the ride. If it is meant and intended for you, it's not something you have to work so hard for. Another message might be, what are you avoiding? And you're trying to make it happen and wanting it to happen and needing it to happen. What are you avoiding? Is there a feeling you're avoiding feeling? Or again, is there something about your life that you're dissatisfied with or unhappy with? And so it's like, okay, if I put all my attention or all my eggs in this basket, I don't have to pay attention to this other thing. So what needs to happen over here to make it more enjoyable or to make it more satisfying or peaceful or fulfilling or whatever it is? But it's just taking a look at whatever that trigger is or that impulse or the inclination to make it all happen in a day. And it has to happen now. And if it doesn't, then that's right. What is that? What is driving you? Because I think it's going to give you some guidance as to how you can actually cultivate a different sort of experience or lifestyle such that you are working on the thing and making the thing happen, but it's coming to you no matter what. So you don't really have to make it happen, but you can do the things that you need to do, right? While also enjoying your life and letting it be innocent and letting it be playful and not having it to take it all so seriously, recognizing this is going to happen over the course of your life. What is it that's so, not to be so dramatic, but so dissatisfying or unhappy or whatever about your life now that makes you feel like you have to have this in order to feel something or have something or feel different? And if whatever that is that you think you're going to get from that thing, the dream, the goal, the vision, the aspiration, how can you cultivate that now? So is it because you want to be recognized? Is it because you want to feel satisfied? Is it because you want to feel successful or accomplished? Or is it because you want to feel more free or because you want to be more abundant? Really taking a look at what's that motivation? Why does it need to happen now? What would that bring that I feel like I don't have now? So that you can begin to let the vision be what it is, knowing that it's on its way and will likely come in pieces over time. And that for right now, you can cultivate a life or lifestyle or experience that brings that element, whatever it is you're seeking for, and that outcome that you think you don't have now, but you could if you weren't putting all of the weight or belief into that thing. It's like sort of quote unquote giving our power away, because we're saying we can only have blank if we have blank. We can only have confidence if we have this success. We can only have fulfillment if we have this dream accomplished. When it's like, okay, what is it that you're missing or feel like you're missing, or what is it you feel like you're going to get from that, and how can you create that now or live true to that now or be in that space now without having to rely on that end game goal or end game vision to come true? So card pile 1, my final message is whatever is meant for you, you already know, number 1, but you've been working on it, applying yourself in some way, or you've always kind of had an awareness about it, and it is meant for you. And that's what your message here for you is, card pile 1, is this is meant for you. There's no denying it. This is part of your destiny, your fate. It will be achieved. So you can relax a little bit. You can let your feet off the gas. You can enjoy yourself a little bit more, be a little bit more playful, not take it all so seriously, and really get to know what it is that makes you want that so badly, or you want it to happen more quickly, or it's not quick enough. So you can see, okay, what is that? So you can recognize the need or the desire that's going unmet now. So card pile 1, do let me know your discoveries. I'd love to hear your comments, your stories below. If you just say card pile 1, I probably won't remember. So give me some details. That way I can catch on and we can see where you're at. All right, card pile 1. Of course, like, subscribe, press the bell icon, leave a comment as I said, and I'll see you next time. Thank you, card pile 1. All right, card pile 2, what is meant for you? So right off the bat, I have a message that is, I don't want to say, it's one of those messages that can be difficult as a reader to share, because, and not to get you all provoked to your anxiety by introducing it that way, it's like sometimes the over-explaining is not as helpful as you would think, and actually makes it worse. But ultimately, you have to trust your own guidance, and this is really just supporting you, and it's your intuition guiding you here to this. So, not that I want to share any bad news, and again, I don't even think it's bad news, but there is this message of, perhaps you're knocking on a door that isn't opening, or perhaps It feels like things aren't working out, or every single time you move in a certain direction, it falls apart. Somewhere, somehow, some way, something isn't quite working out. And I feel like you're being guided in a different direction. Or if you're not being guided yet in a different direction, that's sort of the message here, is see what the signs are. There is a path being revealed, or there's another option available to you. Or the message is sort of along the lines of, if it's not working out for you, maybe it's not meant for you. Now, the problem or the issue that I have with that message, even though it's very clear, I'll show you. I don't think you really can't make this up. And I don't feel like for a lot of you, this is more so things falling apart, things not working out, things outside of your control than I feel like it is otherwise. And so that's why I think this message is important, because it's letting you know, this is being guided or done by another force, or, higher power, great spirit, God, universe, whatever term you use, where I just feel like things aren't working out. It doesn't mean it won't ever work out. So if this is something that's very important to you, it means the world to you. These messages do make me nervous sometimes. I don't ever want you guys to give up on your dreams. I don't ever want you to give up on a particular path. If something is meant for you and you know it in your gut, either this reading isn't meant for you or it's not the right time. So that could be the message too, of like, you see things aren't working, things are falling apart, you're knocking on the door, it's not opening. Perhaps there's another path for you right now, which is going to lead you back here later. And the reason I say that is because I don't think it's right or appropriate to tell someone no, or to tell someone it's not for you. I think that's ultimately up to you. And if this message is true for you, it's probably something that you've already considered. It's something that you've already thought. So it shouldn't come as a big surprise to you. I feel like this could go any number of directions. And of course, I don't yet have any examples. We're going to go a little bit deeper here. But ultimately, I think it has to do with something like knocking down a door that's expired or has transpired, like something continuing down a road that's already been walked. This doesn't feel so much. Now, it could be, and that's why I wanted to offer that disclaimer in the opening, which you guys will have to let me know. Was that more anxiety-provoking, done that way? Probably, and I do apologize for that. But I don't ever want to be like, don't do it, turn around, not for you, bad timing. Like, that's hard for me to do, and I don't believe in that. I believe you're supposed to follow your dreams no matter what, and that your passion is right. So for those people where that is relevant, what I just said, it might be that the timing is off, or that you've already noticed something's not quite right about this, or this isn't quite the right way or the right path, or it's not working out, or it's not the right time or the right season. So you're already going to know that. You'll have had an inkling of that, and then you're getting this here. Now, for the bulk of you, though, I feel like the remainder of you, this is more of like, when I say what is meant for you, the path that you've been walking isn't meant for you. Okay, so this feels like dead-end jobs. This feels like addictive habits or old habits, bad habits die hard kind of thing. This feels like toxic relationship or exes. This feels like the energy of probably not a good idea to keep going down this path. It's not working out. It hasn't worked out for me for a long time. It's now time to to put this to rest and to move forward in a new direction. So let me know which camp you're in, either camp 1 or camp 2. Camp 1, meaning this is an aspiration, dream, or goal. It hasn't quite been working out. You're realizing maybe this isn't quite the right way to get there, or it's just not the right time, or whatever. It's going to be that for some of you. But I think for the bulk of you, the majority of you, it's more along the lines of you've been walking down a certain road, and this is your fork, and this is your time to leave that behind. And whether it's a dead-end job, or a job that's not good for you, or surrounding yourself with company that's not good for you, right? Like whether it be quote unquote toxic people or bad influences, or just bad habits, quote unquote bad habits. So this could be addictive behaviors or habits, whether that's, going to the bar or whatever version of that. And there's many versions of that. Any of you who are mature, meaning the rating of mature and up, PG-13, you kind of know what I'm talking about. But it's like saying that's the road's a dead end. It's just going to give you more of the same. So if you have been unhappy, unfulfilled, unsatisfied in your life, it's because you keep walking down that road and you're being guided in a new direction. Why? Because you're meant to create a new beginning, a new chapter. Excuse me while I move around like this. I'm just uncomfortable. You're meant to create a new chapter from here. This is a new era for you, a new season. I feel like some of you are still in the throes of letting the old experience go. I think you've been aware, like I said, you're already aware of something that had to go. And now it's like making that choice, but it still feels kind of blurry or hazy, or, still like you're in the process of letting go, haven't fully left it behind yet, but you are being guided in another direction. And I think a part of you knows and has always known this isn't good for you. A part of you is always speaking to that majority here, who are listening, that you've always kind of had that inkling of this isn't right for you. This isn't the best choice for you in your best interest. Again, whether it be a toxic relationship or an ex or whatever, or maybe it's a location, that place just isn't good for you, or, doesn't support your highest good, whatever that is. this should land as something that you've been well aware of, even if you're ignoring it, denying it, hushing it, censoring it, or silencing it, or numbing or self-medicating it. All in all, you've heard that voice, and you know that voice inside that's been telling you to leave this old life behind, and that it was no longer going to cut it for you anymore, right? It was no longer going to do it for you anymore. And it's time to embark on a new path, embark on a new chapter. For those of you who are moving more toward a passion or a dream, or finding this particular direction you were going and wasn't working out, or things kept falling out, there's a new beginning in store for you. And I feel like you already know what that is. So for most of you in card pile 2, I feel like a lot of this is reassurance, validation, affirmation. Like, this isn't like newsflash. It's more of like, oh, hey, you already know this. So for an example, let's just say you had an end game goal of, being really successful in your job. For some of you where the other version of this reading doesn't quite land, let's say you have this dream of this number of success that you want to experience, or this vision of success, and you're at this job and you really thought the job was going to work out, but you find that no matter what, you're not getting the promotion, no matter what, you're not getting the recognition, you're not getting the right pay, and you're just finding, okay, I'm not really valued or appreciated here. This is actually probably not for me, and not going to get me where I want to go. Does that make sense? So whether it's one way or the other for you, the theme is the same, where you're starting anew, you're starting on a different path. For most of you, I feel like this is going to be hard for you. It doesn't have to be hard, but it is going to be hard for you, because it's a matter of sort of untethering yourself from something. Even when we unzip something, those zippers kind of coming out, it looks easy, but it's just not an easy process, and you're having to untether yourself from this. So, you might be embedded in that culture, whether it be that job or those people that work there. I mean, it's so hard to leave our comfort zone behind, things that we're familiar with, whether it be family, work, exes, relationships. I mean, that stuff is hard. It's certainly not easy. And so I feel like many of you, you're getting that reassurance right now that, okay, this is the right choice. Okay, this is right for me to leave it behind. I am on path. I am doing the right thing. And it's time for me to move on. Follow that inner voice. The inner voice is trying to get you to where you are meant to go. So when we say what is meant for you, you are meant to leave whatever chapter that is behind. You're meant to leave the dead-end job. You're meant to leave that relationship. You're meant to leave that ex. You're meant to leave that drama behind. You're meant to leave that group of friends behind, those old habits. You're meant to make some serious changes here that set your life on a new path into the future. Yeah, again, that stuff needs to go for you to find the transformation that you're seeking. I feel like you've been wanting for a change, yearning for a change, hoping for a change, even working toward a change, wanting to feel better, wanting to feel different. There's just this impulse within all of us to move to higher ground and to feel better, or to be happy, or to shift things when things aren't right, or when things have gone bad. Just like, for example, there's something inside of us when an apple is rotten, there's something inside of us that says, that doesn't look good, it doesn't smell good, it doesn't taste good, that's not going to be good for me, I'm not going to eat that. Most people, even a 3-year-old, could look at that and not eat the apple. Or even if they took a bite, they'd spit it out. My point is, there's something about it. There's an instinctive, primal, no thank you, I'm out of here, or I'm not swallowing that thing. And that's very similar to the situation where there's something inside of you that's been saying, no, this is not for me. I meant to go elsewhere to do something, to eat a fresh apple. And it's been yearning for a change, yearning for a transformation. And where's that transformation going to come? It's going to come from making this change, from leaving that old world behind, that old job, that old person, that old friend group, those old habits. It's going to be absolutely necessary for that cord to be cut, and for that shift to occur in terms of disentangling and unraveling yourself from that situation and moving in a different direction for the change that you seek. Because some of you are seeking to feel better, to be healthier, to be at peace, to do better for your kids. You have, each of your dreams will be different, but the flavor is the same, which is you're kind of done with that old thing, ready for the new, but don't really quite know how to make it happen. It's about leaving that behind. So card pile 2, what is meant for you? A new future, a different future, a different version of you. There is more in store for you. There is more coming for you. There is more available for you, but it is going to require that you leave whatever this is that's grown stale or stagnant or toxic or heavy or whatever behind, especially if you're not being valued or recognized, and most especially if you're not valuing and recognizing yourself, right? Because we don't stay at a job or with a person or engage in habits that make us feel invaluable. Invaluable won't make sense because that's the opposite, but that make us feel unworthy or unloved. We only do that if we already feel that way. We will not stay in a relationship that feels bad unless we already feel bad about ourselves. You want to step out of that. You're ready for this change. You've been led to this change. There's been enough change on the inside to get you to take this next step. This is your next step. You're meant to leave that behind, to close that door and open a new one. Okay, card pile 2, do let me know what lands for you, what resonates, your particular situation. I'd love to hear your story. Like, subscribe, press the bell icon, and I will see you next time. Thank you, card pile 2. All right, card pile 3. What is meant for you? So I feel like at this time you are being called to leap, to take a chance, to do the thing, to leave your comfort zone behind, and otherwise leave something behind and or leap toward a new frontier in order to bring about whatever shift or change or desire you have been seeking. So it is going to meet you there. If you take the leap, it is going to meet you there, okay? There will be a safety net. You are not going to fall. I do want to share as a disclaimer, use your own intuition and reasoning, right? Don't just rely on the reading. Make sure you're applying it to your actual circumstances and that your circumstances match this before you make any big leaps or take any big chances. But ultimately, that's what it's saying for you, card pile 3. What is meant for you? It's basically saying how to get there. It's to take that leap. It's to take the chance to make the change, to do the thing. Okay, and it's saying that when you do this, if you do this, that new frontier, whatever it is you're seeking, is going to come to meet you. But it is going to rely on this fresh energy, this next step, this bigger change, or this different change. So I feel like you've been through a sort of trial period. I don't necessarily believe that life or God or the universe or whatever tests us. I do believe things can appear like a test to our human minds, which are quite limited in terms of the vast awareness that exists. So it might feel like a test. And so I feel like you've been through a particular trying time in your life where it very much felt like a trials and tribulations and really pushing your way through and trying to make it happen or trying to make it work, or maybe just trying to keep your head above water or trying to survive or whatever. It's like the clearing is coming. The clearing is on its way. I feel like this is the change. You make a change by leaving your comfort zone behind, by doing something different. So if you've been sort of pondering over a new opportunity or a new idea or a new inspiration, I feel like this would be the affirmation or the acknowledgement that you're on the right track, because it's saying, it's felt like this has been some dogged kind of terrain for a while, and it feels like abundance is on its way. And not only is it on its way, it's assured, but you do have to get to the quote unquote other side of this. And it's saying, how do you get to the other side? By leaping, by taking the chance. You go first. You have to make the move. Yeah, it's you making the move basically, right? Checkmate, that kind of thing, where you make the move and then the universe comes to meet you. The universe comes to match you. But this is you making the move. I might have to ask, because I'm not getting any examples just yet. I could ask for a clarifier if we find that we need it. But let's go through the rest of the reading and see if we do. But ultimately, I feel like abundance is assured. Assured. So this isn't, it's available to you and it might come. It's 100% assured. It just feels so strong and it feels so convicted and it feels so solid and it feels so real. And it's like right on the other side of this. So whatever you've been moving through, I'm sure it's been a challenging time. It definitely felt like a trying time, and it feels like dogged terrain. Like this wasn't easy, but there is something on the other side of this waiting for you. But here's what's interesting. And this is like kind of the deeper thing I was trying to get to, is like, what is it? What are they trying to overcome? Or how are they going to get on the other side of this? There's a fresh perspective that's either needed or on its way or already here. It's a fresh perspective, a new mindset, a new way of seeing things. So you might notice something's changing in your inner world, your inner perceptions. We're starting to see things differently, or you're able to adopt a different mindset. Maybe it's more quote unquote positive or optimistic. And now we're not straining for positivity here, or being overly unnecessarily optimistic, where it's like the really diluted teachings of the law of attraction, where everything has to be perfect and positive in order to attract the perfect and positive. I do not subscribe to that kind of teaching, nor would I recommend it. But it feels like there is a difference between living your life in a cloud of dullness, self-judgment, doubt, worry, fear, grief, upset, and anger and rage, and living your life in a space of innocence and playfulness and lightheartedness and joy, right? There's a pretty clear difference. Now, I'm not saying you're in one of those or the other, but it's that kind of thing where a fresh perspective comes in, fresh paradigm, a new way of seeing things. For some of you, that's going to be your leap. And that's what I was trying to get at, is it felt like there was something else here. So for some of you, It might very well be that there's a choice or an opportunity or a potential or an inspiration or an idea. That might very well be the case. But if you go into it with that same mindset or perspective as before, you'll find the same terrain. So this is about a mindset shift, a paradigm shift, a perception shift. It's already here or on its way or it's needed. And then with that perception shift, boom, everything opens up. Okay? So it's like believing in the possibility of, believing in the, believing the possibility of, it's like, again, someone who thinks their garden is never going to work, or they don't know how, or that they get too much rain, or it's too dry a climate, they're either never going to start the garden, or when they do, they're not really going to believe in it, so they're not going to put as much effort in, et cetera, et cetera. It's going to permeate all things, and then ultimately, probably what you think is going to happen. The garden's probably not going to produce that much, or it's not going to do as well as it could. Someone is 100% a believer in a garden and knows the power of earth and trusts the power of earth and is willing to learn what they must do for floods and dry climates and all of those things. That garden's probably going to fare pretty well. So the point here, again, is walking into something with the right perspective, the right energy, the right approach. That's going to support you to shift this. So if before you were experiencing a set of results and outcomes that weren't that great to you, again, felt dogged or tired or dull or just impossible, like, pushing a stone up not just a hill, but Everest, there's a new, fresh perspective that's needed. There's a new, fresh mindset that's needed. Sometimes we can't force this mindset. Sometimes it has to happen naturally. But sometimes we can support a shift in paradigm by asking questions like I do this, for example, because it can be hard to shift your belief from, oh, this is this to that is that, because a part of you still believes in that old belief. So then you're just butting heads and then you're not getting anywhere, right? There's a competition and basically there's a fight for air. So who's going to win? There's no telling. It's a toss up. So I'm much more of a question asker where it's like, well, what might it look like if I saw this differently? Or if I were a very optimistic person, what would I see possible here? Or what would the potential be? If I consider this to be something that goes very well, what would that look like? So those are kind of silly ones and kind of generic ones, because I'm trying to give you examples. But, I take my specific situation and I ask a question about what it might be or what it could look like or what I might envision or see if I were this positive, optimistic, joyful, playful, holding something loosely person. And I can be, and I haven't very many times in my past, but you have a dogged terrain trial in your life, and then it takes a lot of effort to get back where you were. But it doesn't have to. Again, it's that perception shift from expecting the worst to expecting the best, to fearing the worst to expecting the best, right? So it's like that kind of shift that's going to bring about this abundance. It's almost like it was never actually about the terrain that you were walking, but the mindset that you had, okay? So as another example, if we believe lowly of ourselves or believe that we're not valuable or unworthy or not lovable, we're going to live that existence out such that we live our everyday life hoping for approval and we don't get it, seeking for love and it doesn't happen, hoping that someone gives us recognition and it doesn't happen. And then we have all these disappointments that kind of feel like failures, and over time it just reinforces what we believed in the first place. But let's just say we feel full, we feel secure, we feel confident. We're not really looking for that love and approval because we already have it on the inside. Then we're going to feel like, kind of reminds me of everything is awesome. And again, we're not being like law of attraction, everything has to be perfect and all that, but it reminds me of that movie from a long time ago. What was it called? The Lego movie or something? Everything is cool. But like if you walk around kind of with a pep in your step of like, I'm this, I'm that, and no one has to tell me this and no one has to tell me that. If someone doesn't open the door for you, you're not too concerned about it. If someone goes to you, no big deal. On to the next one. If you don't get the promotion at work, all right, I'm out of here. Do you see what I'm saying? Where you live your life and it doesn't have to be all this attitude, but it's kind of more playful, but it's the point that things don't affect you. Things roll off your back. You're not taking any kind of rejection or whatever seriously because you're not attached to that. You're not hooked into that. You don't believe that you're unworthy or unlovable. So those things don't hook you and grab you and hold on to your attention and bring you down. It's almost like those are non-existent and you pay attention to when they did open the door and they did make the phone call, they did text you back, and then that becomes more of your reality. Does that make sense? Or like being in the desert on a hike, for example. We're not talking about the desert and you're actually like dying, but you're on a hike and some people will be like, oh my gosh, I'm so tired and I'm so hot and and this isn't for me. And not everyone's going to want to hike, by the way, so you don't have to do that. But it's just an example. Some people will be like that, right? And then other people are like, oh my gosh, this is gorgeous. The sun's on my skin and I have enough water to keep me hydrated and to feel good, and my body's working hard and I'm building my muscles. Are you seeing the difference here? Exact same scenario, but just different perspective. It's the fresh perspective, the new energy, the willingness to see differently that brings about this greater abundance, right? You're untethering yourself from the things that were weighing you down, that emotional baggage, the thoughts, the fears, the doubts, like the things that were kind of holding you back, holding you down, keeping you weighted to the ground. You're letting all that go. The things that, again, if you go through trauma or a difficult period or the trying season that you've, it's natural to feel more fearful or worrisome or depressed or guilty or remorseful or angry or upset or whatever. That's natural. So there's nothing wrong with it. Okay. But in order to release that, that reality, that experience, you have to release that, right? So you let that go and you start choosing to see the good, choosing to see the positive, giving more attention to the positive, getting more attention to what is possible, what could be, how it could work out, what the magic is. If it was magic and magic was real, what would happen, right? Giving more of your energy and attention to that, that's going to bring about that bigger vision that you seek, the dream, the riches, the abundance, the success, whatever it is you're seeking. So card pile 3, what is meant for you? You are meant for greater abundance. That's assured. We got that. You are meant for greater riches, success, a life that just feels really light and feels very, wealthy, rich in some way. You are meant for that. Okay. And in order for you to experience that right now, it's going to require you to have a mindset shift, a paradigm shift, a perspective shift. It's almost like as soon as that happens, boom, everything floods in. Like it's already waiting for you. The dam, it's like, okay, so a dam and the water's waiting here. As soon as you let go of all that other stuff, that old perception, all that water comes flooding in. Like it's already there and waiting for you, just waiting for that perception shift inside of you, that paradigm shift. So that is what is meant for you, card pile 3. If this lands, resonates, share your comments, your stories below. I want to hear about your unique story, your unique situation and circumstance. Of course, like, subscribe, press the bell icon, and I will see you next time. Thank you, card pile 3. All right, card pile 4. What is meant for you? So card pile 4, I feel like you've been through a time of deep reflection, or we have the Hermit card. So, spending some time alone or doing life on your own or doing it solo. And what I feel like you were doing, whether intentionally or unintentionally, meaning it might not have been a conscious choice, it might have just happened naturally in the way things unfolded in your life, but this was ultimately giving you an opportunity to really get to know yourself, to really get to know how to hold yourself, how to support yourself. It was so that you could release yourself from any sort of old ties to codependency or the ways that you once relied on people. And I don't think you saw it before. You didn't know the ways that you were codependent or relying on other people for your happiness. It just wasn't something you were able to see until when you're alone or, brought into a period of great solitude or reflection or introspection. You can just see things so much more clearly. And I feel like that's the phase that you've been in for a time. I do feel like you're coming out of it, but it's honestly telling you what the purpose is. It's saying, well, the purpose of this was. So I feel like that's important for you to know, card pile 4. Is that this time was taken, this season of your life was important for you to get to know yourself, to become more intimate with yourself, to gain more emotional maturity and emotional intelligence, to really get to know your old patterns, your old habits, the ways in which you were codependent, the ways in which you were insecure, the ways in which you relied on other people or partners to keep you happy or satisfied, the ways in which you sought for love, approval, accolades, the ways in which you sought from others what you could give to yourself. I am not one to propose that we're supposed to live in isolation on lonely islands, giving everything to ourselves and just being, self-focused sovereign beings. That's not it, and that's something I subscribe to. With that said, there is something about being full, secure, all on our own without needing it from somebody else. Wanting it, sure. Making an agreement inside of a partnership, for example, to meet each other's needs as we can, sure. But in this case, there was something about you having to get to know yourself, and that was only going to happen at this level, at this depth, by going through this period, by going through this season. To get to know yourself at this level, at this depth, especially for the kind of partnership that you sought. So that might not apply to everybody, but I do feel like that's relevant if it's coming up. Some of this applies for partnerships specifically, but I don't think this is like your whole soul's journey and sort of quest that you were on or whatever, self-reflection, sabbatical, wasn't about just you getting yourself ready and prepped for a partner. For some of you, yes, and so you're going to connect with that. But for some of you, it's all around, and that could include partnership or romance or a relationship eventually, right? Where it's like you were looking for a life that was going to be highly upgraded and have a lot of these wonderful things like a great partnership and a healthy, loving relationship, but it wasn't going to happen at the level that you were at. Meaning, if someone's highly insecure, maybe they don't even know it, right? But they're highly insecure, codependent, they have a lot of needs, or they're needy or clingy, or maybe they're even avoidant and push everyone away and don't even know what their emotions are. It's going to be really difficult to be in a relationship with someone who's highly emotionally mature and knows themselves very well. But let's say that person who is relatively insecure, they want someone like that. And that's the kind of relationship they genuinely sought and wanted to create for themselves. Well, in order for that to happen, they would have to go through a period just like this to get them to know themselves from head to toe, to get to know their childhood conditioning and programming and patterns and trauma and generational cycles and all that stuff, so they could begin to, unpack all of that, get to know themselves further, and make a more conscious choice as to how they wanted to move forward. And also just give all of that, some breathing room, right? When we start lifting up the layers of things, we're able to clear and release things. Otherwise we wouldn't be able to. It's not so embedded, right? We're giving it some air and some breathing room, and sometimes it goes and sometimes it stays. We don't force it out. It doesn't really have to go anywhere, but it might. Life's intelligence, the body's intelligence, knows what to do, and it does what it would or will with that energy as it arises. So you were able to do some clearing out, some soul searching. You're able to get some, deeper insight about yourself so you can move forward in a way that was more true to who you are authentically. So this was about getting to know yourself and your most vulnerable and tender parts. This was getting to know how you might have even protected parts of you or became fiercely protective, like where you're pushing people away and being avoidant of intimacy and things like that. Ways in which you avoided things. Also, we talked about your insecurities. There was more there, and then I lost it. But ultimately, you were getting to know all those parts of you so that you could, again, move forward in a more conscious way to truly live and experience the life that you sought, because you had really big dreams. I mean, you're a high achiever. Even if you haven't achieved a lot of things or material successes, you're someone who loves to learn and grow, and maybe you don't even relate to that. You're like, no, I don't. But in some way, you had an idea of something that you really wanted for yourself, and it was only going to be possible if you had this season, if you had this solitude, if you had this sabbatical. And it was going to allow you to be able to see inside of yourself and develop that necessary insight to be able to move forward and carry yourself in a different way. So whether that's with more security, more fullness, more wholeness, more confidence, whatever that is, it was something that this was going to be required of you in order for you to move forward and carry on and actually achieve and or experience what it is you saw out for yourself. So whatever it is you do seek is meant for you, but it required this untethering and this unraveling and this unpacking for you to be able to move forward and be the person that you wanted to be. You were asking for a certain vision that required you to be a certain person, and in order for you to be that person, you had to go through this experience to really see yourself clearly and look at all those parts and get to know all those parts and get to know those tender and vulnerable parts, or maybe clingy, needy parts, or avoidant and neglectful parts, whatever they are. You were meant to get to know them more. And again, you come out a much more emotionally mature, spiritually mature, insightful, deep, whole, knowing human being. Let's see here. Yeah, so this time was also about clearing out. We already talked about this, but it's saying it again, so I'm just going to give a few more words to it. This was about clearing out the patterns of the past, the things that weighed you down or made you, again, some of those sort of insecurities, as an example, those can be born from experiences as a child, like being bullied, or perhaps other kind of trauma from your family of origin, whatever. Maybe you never felt like you belonged, or you were the black sheep or whatever, and that can come from places that carry heavy energy, right? And so it's like clearing out all that baggage. Again, we start unpacking things, we allow for a lot of this to find air, and you can clear out that old energy, the old residue that's kind of sticky and hanging out in there that really isn't necessary for where you're going, where you're headed, or who you are today, right? That was for a long time ago. So you make room for that stuff to kind of come up and out, be seen, be let go of, whatever. Sometimes we're just getting to know it, sometimes we're releasing it, sometimes we're letting go of it. But ultimately, it helps bring about that transformation that you saw. It was letting go of a lot of those things that really weren't authentic to you, letting go of a lot of those things that you weren't really going to be able to bring into a healthy, mature, loving relationship, letting go of a lot of the things that weren't going to be really conducive to a big, like ambitious dream or vision or whatever. So like if you're really insecure, very needy or whatever, it might be very difficult for you to create success in your life or some kind of achievement because you rely on it for your self-worth. And so then every failure or hiccup turns into something much bigger than it actually is, right? Instead of just another step on the ladder. All of these different examples. So you're ultimately letting go of all that and your vibration has been rising. So you've been bringing yourself into a place and becoming the person that gets to experience the things that you said you wanted. So now you're in a position where you can actually claim or call on or experience the kinds of things you've set your eyes on in the past. Like, boom, I want that. Boom, I want that. Well, now you have become the person who gets to have that. But it required this shifting, this letting go of it, letting go of old skin. There's nothing wrong with that in terms of like, it's not because we're bad or low vibration, right? A caterpillar doesn't go into cocoon because it's a bad vibe and it wants a better vibe, so it becomes a butterfly. This is just the natural course of evolution. It's just what happens. And so the caterpillar has to be let go of in order for it to become a butterfly, a very, very similar kind of experience. Okay, yeah, so I feel like you've waited for this for a long time. Yeah, you've waited for this for a long time, and I feel like it's been a long time coming, and it might have felt like many moons, and maybe it was many moons, maybe it was many years for you, but ultimately you're coming out on the other side now. So whether or not you feel like you're on the other side, I feel like most of you are in transition and now you have enough distance and space to where you can look back a little bit. It's saying, you are ready, you are here, and you get to be this person and you get to experience what it is that you're wanting to experience. But there is one more message, so just give me a moment so I can connect with that for you. So there's a few messages here, and I'm trying to gather each of them, and it was a little bit difficult for me, so let's see if we can do it. So a couple of things that came up were like when the butterfly first comes out of its cocoon, the sun's pretty bright and it's pretty new and its body feels different. So you might be adjusting for a little while. You might be adjusting to this, whether it be vibrationally, physically, energetically, emotionally. So you might just notice an adjustment period where you're sort of just getting used to how bright it is and how different it feels and how different you are. And that's just like the final sort of step. I don't want to say nail in the coffin because it's the opposite, but it's like that final reveal is happening. So you might feel a little bit sensitive and still adapting and still adjusting. And that's very normal and natural if you find that that's occurring for you. You might also notice, you feel a little bit kind of gun shy where you're not quite ready or you're not quite feeling like yourself yet. Like the shift hasn't happened completely perfectly. Like you're either coming out of the cocoon or right, you're the butterfly, but you're just a brand new butterfly. So you're still sort of finding your wings, kind of has that energy. And then there was one other message here. Oh, and remembering that, it's almost like this is the new you. And there was a message sort of like, not feeling like you have to go back to relate to people. So perhaps, the way that most people relate to each other, whether it be in relationships or whatever, it's kind of in those insecure ways or avoidant ways, or like a lot of that stuff is pretty rampant. And a lot of people don't even know it. They're not even aware of it. And now you've gone through this process. It is kind of the energy of don't settle for less, but it's like the energy of not feeling like you need to relate or go back to those old habits or who you were before just to be able to connect or relate with people. Like your people are going to come, the experience is going to happen, the vision is going to come. Give it some time, let the quote unquote like vibrations adjust, let yourself adjust, and the right people, the right energy, the right things are going to come. It's almost like this energy of, again, not trying to sort of clip your wings in order to fit in or to belong or to kind of keep things the way that they were. And also this energy of knowing there will be a little bit of an adjustment period. But I do want to sit with your cards one final time to see if there's any remaining messages, because like I said, I got a lot for that one, and I want to see if there's any remaining ones, and then we'll finish up. So when we say what is meant for you, it's like you're meant to shine. You're meant to be an example. You're meant to set an example. You might even be a leader. But even if you're not a leader of a bunch of people or you're not seen in some big way, it's like you're a leader of your own life. You're a model or an example. One even for yourself, like you're being the person you want to be, and you've become the person you want to be, you wanted to become. It's like you are that sort of fully developed, fully realized person, right? Because isn't that what we all seek toward, whether we know it or not? We're all ultimately moving toward our fullest potential. And so I feel like, this is about you shining and coming into your own and really stepping into that butterfly, having let go of those old patterns, identities, roles, programs, all that stuff. That's a lot of work. That's really hard. that's takes a lot of honesty, a lot of brutal work, and so on and so forth. So it's like, this is your time to shine. Own it, love it, be it, do it, because like you worked hard for it, right? So, spread your wings and let yourself shine. I mean, you're a shining example of what's possible, of human potential, of your own evolution. So what is meant for you is that butterfly. You get to be the butterfly. You get to be yourself realized. You get to be that fullest potential because you worked for it, you earned it. And what does that mean? If you are the cream of the crop, you get the cream of the crops. You get the cream of the crop partners, the cream of the crop homes and jobs and money. Like the abundance can come in because you're that person, right? Not everyone can be a Kim Kardashian, and not everyone's a Kim Kardashian fan. I don't love Kim Kardashian, but not everyone could be here. And even another wealthy person might not become her, right? My point is like, she is that sort of shining example for what's possible. And you get to be that too for your own life. Like Kim Kardashian commands the life that she has, right? And you get to command the life that you have because of this work. And I think the overall message though for you, Card Pile 4, was letting you know what was for. That sabbatical, that solitude, that season alone, season of reflection and introspection was all about supporting you to get to know yourself further, to have the deeper awareness and insight about yourself, to be able to make a conscious choice about how you wanted to move forward so that you could call for and claim the kind of reality that you sought. So bravo, Card Pile 4. Do let me know how this lands and resonates for you. Share your story in the comments. Like, subscribe, press the bell icon, and I will see you next time. Thank you, Card Pile 4.